SBA Publications.
Hello dear students, how are you all? I hope that you're doing very nice and you are enjoying your literature really well. Today we are going to start our chapter number 5 of English literature, and the name itself is very interesting. It is Everything for the Best. So without wasting any time, let's get started. In ancient times there lived a rich and powerful king who ruled over a vast kingdom. Pratap Singh was his advisor as well as his close friend. His kingdom was well administered by his ministers under the guidance of Pratap Singh. So here we are being described about a king who is very rich and very powerful, and he has a vast kingdom, and his best friend as well as his minister is Pratap Singh, and he has handled his empire really well. Every day, caravan full of wealth arrived in his capital. The only thing that saddened the king was to see famine, epidemic, and wars which seemed unable to avoid. So everything was very nice in his kingdom. There was only one thing that he hated. That was famine, epidemic, and war, which he cannot avoid because they are more of natural things. He could not reconcile with Pratap Singh's oft-repeated belief that everything is for the best. So, there was Pratap Singh who thought all of it that was happening, either it was famine, either it was epidemic or war, they all happen for a reason and for a very good reason. Okay, everything happens for good. When challenged, the minister would reply that such troubles ennoble man's nature and teach them wisdom, bringing mankind slowly towards perfection. So he would say that all these things happen to teach man about life, to bring him towards perfection. Okay, so all this happens for a reason. The man was optimistic to the core, and no hardship in life had any discouraging effect on him because he would always look at the positive side of it. He would think of the benefits that could be derived from adversities. In fact, this particular trait was so prominent in him that others around him very often got tired of his oft-repeated belief. So, what happened? He was very positive man. He thought that he could find positivity in everything, either it is negative or positive. So even in the adversities, that means the hardships of life, he found positivities. Okay. One day the king and Pratap Singh went out riding on a hunting expedition to a dense forest. They pursued a deer in the forest and were soon lost deep in the jungle. So one day the king and Pratap Singh, they went for a hunt in the forest and they were following a deer when they got lost inside the deep forest. Feeling thirsty and hungry, they began to look for water. At length, they discovered a solitary wood apple. When the king tried to cut the apple, as luck would have it, the sword slipped from his hand and he cut off his finger. So what happens? They found a wood apple in the jungle while they were looking for water. And when the king tried to cut the apple, the sword slipped from his hand and it cut his finger. The king let out a piercing cry of pain. He was aghast when he saw the bleeding finger. So he cried out of pain, and then he was shocked to see the cut finger that was bleeding. The minister who came running asked the king, "What's the matter, your majesty?" The king pointed to his severed finger and the sword that lay on the ground. Picking up the sword, the advisor in his characteristic way was about to say his favorite statement. So while he was picking up his sword, he was about to say what he would say all the time. "So everything is for the best, isn't it?" said the king ironically. But the king himself says that, "So you say everything happens for the best." The advisor was as calm as ever, and he was still calm. "With due respect," he answered, "Yes, your majesty, it may be a blessing in disguise. Take it from me, something good is going to come out of this apparent tragic incident." So the advisor says that something good will happen as this thing occurred. You have cut your finger, this must hold something good behind it. God has willed it this way because God wanted it to happen this way. So we should not complain. The king couldn't believe what his advisor had said. He couldn't comprehend how the loss of his finger could be a blessing. The king could not understand how I have lost my finger and this could be a blessing for me. How? The distraught king was sure his courtier was making fun of him. In his fury, the king ordered Pratap Singh out of his sight. Seeing that he had indeed enraged the king, Pratap Singh had no choice but to leave the king alone. So, as the king was enraged after what Pratap Singh had said, he orders him to get out of his sight. So, Pratap Singh understood that the king is really upset, so he found it better to leave the king alone. In his hunger and pain, the king fell into an uneasy sleep. So the king falls asleep as he is very hungry and in pain. As he lay at the foot of a tree, he was discovered by the tribal soldiers of the jungle, who in the last day of the great annual festival were seeking a sacrificial victim for the tiger goddess. So what happened here? When the king fell asleep, he was found by some tribal soldiers who were looking for someone they could use as a sacrifice for their goddess. They were delighted to find such a handsome victim. So they found a very handsome victim, which was the king. They were very happy. They seized the king, bound his hands and feet, and carried him away. So they took the king away. The soldiers, who were in their colorful costumes with plumes and holding the spears upright in the reverence to their royal prisoner, marched to the chief palace on the stilts. The tribal soldiers presented their booty to the chief, who judged that the prisoner was indeed of royal blood. So their chief judged by just looking at the king that he must be someone from a royal blood. He was pleased with his soldiers' catch. He decided that the king's blood would be an excellent offering to the goddess. Therefore, he sent for the tribal priest, an old man who came in soon afterwards. So they were very happy that this sacrifice will please our goddess. So he sends for the tribal priest, and soon the priest arrives. As was the custom, the tribal priest had to approve of the offerings to the deity. So the rules were that the priest would confirm or would approve of their offering. It was his duty to see that each offering was perfect in all respects. So it was his duty to make sure that the offerings are perfect and they do not have any defect. Seeing that a king was going to be sacrificed on the day, the priest did not inspect the prisoner from head to toe. So as the priest realized that it is a king that we are going to sacrifice, he did not bother to check him completely. Instead, he ordered that the process be started without delay. So he orders that we should start the process without wasting any time. They took the king to the altar. After some wild dancing, the final sacrificial preparation began with the smearing of red and yellow powder over the victim's forehead, feet and hands. So first they dance around the king, then they prepare the king for the sacrifice by putting some powder on his head, on his hands and feet and everywhere. However, during the anointing of the body, that the old priest noticed that something was amiss. So when the priest was preparing the king for the sacrifice, he notices that something is missing, something is wrong here. One of the fingers on the king's left hand was missing. So he found that one of the finger was missing from king's hand. He shook his head and said in his sonorous voice, "I am sorry, your royal highness, we cannot proceed with the sacrifice. The deity will accept only those who are whole-bodied, and the king is missing one finger. The body should not have any blemishes. The prisoner's body is imperfect and it is not fit for offering to the deity, as the deity will not accept such offering because it is not in its full body. It will be a very wrong thing to sacrifice this king." The tribal soldiers fled in horror, for they had presented an imperfect sacrifice and feared the wrath of the goddess. So they ran away as they feared the wrath of the goddess, as the offering was incomplete. As the king hobbled away as fast as his legs could carry him, he realized that the loss of his finger had indeed been for the best. So the king realizes that he lost his finger, and this is how he is still alive right now. But what of not having his minister's company at the time of danger? Was that for the best? So he thinks that okay, now I realize that losing my finger was for the best. If I hadn't lost my finger, I would have lost my life. But I did not have my minister with me at that time. So was this for the best or just like that? Yes, Pratap Singh later, for if he had known of the king peril, he would have come to the king's aid and been overcome by the numerous soldiers, thus serving as a substitute victim. So everything was for the best after all. So what would have happened if Pratap Singh was with the king? They would have sacrificed Pratap Singh as a substitute for the king. So not being with his minister was also for the best. So that was the chapter. I hope you understood it and you finally got to learn a great lesson for life. So now we'll look at the vocabulary. First we have adversity, that means difficult or unpleasant situation. Aghast, that means filled with horror and surprise. Anointing means spearing or applying of powder as part of a religious ceremony. Apparent means seeming or something that appears to be true but maybe not. Blemishes means defects or flaws. Booty is valuable thing. Distraught is extremely upset and anxious and unable to think. Ennoble is make noble. Enraged means make angry. Expedition is journey for a particular purpose. Hobbled is walked lamely. Optimistic is hopeful or believing that good things will happen. Piercing is sharp. Plumes is large feathers used as ornaments usually worn in hair. Pursued is followed. Reconcile is deal with two opposite ideas. Royal blood means noble blood. Sonorous is having a loud or deep sound. Solitary means lonely. Stilts is sets of poles supporting a hut or a house. Trait is distinguishing feature in character above the ground. Now we have wrath, that is anger. So that's all. Now we are done with the chapter and here is some exercises which you have to do on your own. I hope you enjoyed the chapter and you can do this exercise on the basis of it as well. I will see you soon in the next chapter. Till then, keep on learning. Bye bye.